Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
What's up, Facebook? Talk About It Tuesday. It is game week here in Lincoln, Nebraska, so we got a little buzz in the air. No better person to bring on for game week than our friend down in the Sooner State, Derik Kline with Hail Trace. Derik, thanks for joining us, man.
Boomer! Oh, you're supposed to yell Sooner. What's up with that?
I don't know that. We don't. Oscar Power or something like that.
Man, everything's going well. Getting ready to kick off hurricane season, which is always fun for us weather nerds over here, and maybe a little fall hail. We had some good hail last night, and then college football is always fun. So it's a good time of the year.
Absolutely. Well, I'm excited to talk about hurricane season and hail, but 7 o'clock kickoff here in Lincoln on Saturday. What's the forecast looking like?
At 34-0. Oh, you mean like the weather forecast? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we'll score way more than 34 points.
You got the old quarterback coaching now, so you should, right?
Yep.
Offensive juggernaut now. So it looks like there's definitely a chance of some storms up there for Saturday. So it's not, as of right now. I mean, we're a little far out, being 5-6 days out, but. It doesn't look like just like a washout or anything, but I think there could be a couple of scattered storms, hopefully some hail, maybe a little hail might help the game out a little bit. Looks like, actually, I would be jealous down here in the Sooner State, for the weather that we'll have compared to what you guys will have, because, highs on Saturday, mid-80s, so probably some pretty awesome tailgating weather, maybe, a scattered storm or so. Temps falling into the 70s during the game. I don't think it gets much better than that, right?
No, and I will tell you, we know roofers love hail, but in Nebraska, roofers, they don't even like hail on game day. Let's get some sun going. So pressure's on you and your team to let's figure that out by Saturday.
Make a poll for that. Would you prefer hail or no hail on game days?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good one. Let's get that rolling. So before we jump into talk about hail and, the hurricane season and stuff, tell me a little bit about Hail Trace, kind of, how long you guys been around, what you guys do, and give the audience that maybe isn't familiar, a little bit of background.
Yeah, so we're a weather consulting company, basically. That's where our name comes from. So we create maps that show contractors where hail happens. But more so, we've tried to kind of take that to the next level. And so we've done that in a couple of ways. The first way that we've done that is we have meteorologists on staff that actually analyze every single storm that happens. So that's a really, really powerful tool that we have, at our belt that really helps to increase our accuracy. And when you increase that accuracy, the really nice thing that you can do from that point is you can take a lot of data now. So now we've built in different features that allow our customers to put all of their clients in, so we can produce lists of customers that were impacted with hail, including doing integrations with like Job Nimbus, which I know you guys are integrated with. We're gonna have CompanyCam coming up down the road. I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But so we build in these integrations to help that data flow better. We have tools where you can actually pull lists of entire people that live in the hail swaths. You can do canvassing and drop your pins and then convert them into customers, and then just let that flow straight into your your CRM that you might use. So some really powerful stuff that we've tried to kind of integrate and build around the accurate hail maps that we create to make these guys more money.
Absolutely. And you guys are, would say I'm pretty involved in the social media communities for storms and for weather and roofing and all that stuff. And you guys are kind of the buzz. you've got a lot of cool stuff going. At the end of the day, I know you mentioned, you got the team of meteorologists, those things. How important is just that accuracy of the map? Because you've got a lot of cool stuff, which we'll talk about, but at the end of the day, you guys are creating some really accurate maps. How important has that been to your success?
It's been really important. And there is no, I always tell people there's nothing that's perfect. We do the best that we can with the resources that are available. And so far it's done really, really well for us. But there is no, perfect solution out there. The radars that are around don't, they update at a certain, every 2.5 minutes to even 5 minutes in some cases. So, we work with what we have, but having the meteorologist allows us to kind of interpret that data a little bit different than just letting it automatically happen. And that's what's been really powerful. And so, what happens is contractors have been used to a solution where they've had this algorithm or this automated solution, and then they come over and they try us out. And what they find is it gets them into the right spots quicker, and lets them know, when there's a good storm or when there's not a good storm. And let's just be honest. You're talking opportunity cost at that point. So if you're in an area 2 to 3 days late, that's a lot of sales that you lose over that 2 to 3 day period. We're talking about a lot of money that they can make or not make by being in the right location. Then there's also the saving side of it, where you look at, if you're a storm chaser, where, I'm in, let's say, Lincoln, Nebraska, and I want to travel and chase this storm that happened in Louisville, Kentucky, or Denver, Colorado, or wherever it is. And I travel out to a storm that ends up not being worthwhile. If we can prevent that from happening, that can save them a lot of money. And then again, you're talking about opportunity cost and being somewhere where you're still selling instead of traveling somewhere where you're not. So it's been really powerful. And I think, it's, we have some really, really awesome clients, a lot. And so, we've been pretty blessed on the social media side to actually have them talk and promote us, unsolicited. We don't ask them to do some of this stuff. And sometimes it's kind of hard as a company to get people to talk about the good things you do. If you mess up, you'll hear about that really quickly. But, we've been blessed that, a lot of our clients have, I don't know if you'd call it drinking the hell tray sauce, or I don't know what it is, but they go on and they talk about us, and when we do stuff good, they talk about it. And, it's been really awesome, and we're really blessed to have really great clients that do that. So.
Absolutely. They are definitely drinking the Kool-Aid out there, and that is huge. I definitely do want to get into the CompanyCam hail trace integration, but I want to save that for a little bit here. Jake Dempsey here's got a question. I don't know, it might be a loaded question, but we'll see what you can do with it. It says, tell us what makes a good storm. Obviously hail, but what goes into making it a good storm?
Yeah, so that, it really depends on what you're looking for. We on a consistent basis, we'll actually have contractors that they'll talk to us about, I'll have a contractor tell me that a storm's garbage, and then I'll have one call me 10 minutes later and tell me that, they're going to make a killing on the exact same storm. So in a lot of cases, it boils down to what you're looking for, or how open-minded are you to how you're actually going to work that storm. So a great example would be, early in the year, before Colorado got to just blowing it up out there with all the hail that they had a storm in Colorado Springs that produced quarter to mainly nickel to quarter size hail. So it wasn't real damaging. But then it produced some very isolated, when I say isolated, golf ball size hail. So a chunk or two of golf ball size hail. And we made it a 3-star map because it hit a lot of houses. And so the value to the contractor, if they were going out and looking at new roofs that had maybe been replaced within the last 5 years or so, they weren't going to find any damage because that storm wasn't intense enough to damage a new roof. Where it was intense enough was on some of the older roofs. They were able to go in and either find old damage and open up a new data loss off of the storm, or that storm might have produced a little bit of new damage and that's what they were able to work off of. But they had to know what they were looking for in order to find that. So if they went into a neighborhood that was, say, 10 years old, everybody replaced their roof in the storm that happened 5 years ago. They get up on a roof, they're not going to find any damage, and that storm's going to be garbage to them. But if they were to get off the roof and go to this older neighborhood where a lot of people didn't replace their roof from the storm 5 years ago, or I'm just using that as an example, now all of a sudden they're actually finding damage in that area. And that's part of what we've created with the tool is the ability to overlay those different storms, so that way they can see, okay, you know what, this storm wasn't real damaging, but this area was also impacted by this really big hailstorm 5 years ago. So let's overlay those two. Let's see where those crisscross, because that's probably the area that we should focus on. We've actually got a client, I'll give him a shout out, Greg Derik, Triple Diamond Roofing here in Oklahoma City. So he's having one of his best years ever. And a big part of it is doing that. He's crossing over storms. He's getting good dates of loss. And he's just going in and pounding the ground and finding damage. Whereas in Oklahoma City, we haven't had a storm in 4 or 5 years. We've had just these pockets of quarter-size hail, maybe a golf ball or two, but nothing that's really significant. But he's going to have, you should see The Office. I just went and took a look at it, did the tour yesterday. A huge, nice, gorgeous office, a big training facility that they have. They're blowing it up when a lot of contractors in Oklahoma right now are sitting around wondering, when are we gonna get a hailstorm? When are my phones gonna ring? He's not waiting on the phones to ring. He's just out pounding the ground. He's making it happen. And so he's taken some of these storms that guys around here have said are garbage, that they're not any good, and he's doing really, really good off of them. And then you've got the Denver storms where, in those big storms, you're looking at volume. You want a lot of hail. You want it to be pretty hard. If it's soft hail, it's not going to do a lot of damage. If it's really hard hail, it can do a lot of damage. And so there's velocity. How hard does it come down? There's a lot of variables that go into making a good hailstorm. I don't think a lot of people realize, what all goes into that.
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard you talk enough that I feel like I'm getting better at understanding it. But yeah, there's a ton to it, and that's why I said it was kind of a loaded question. But I think we hit that pretty well, and you kind of keyed on something that I wanted to talk about a little bit as well, because you hear all the time, well, man, it's slow. We didn't get any hail. Like with your maps where you can overlay them and those kind of things. Do you see people finding success in almost little honey holes just by doing that? Is that kind of what they're, overlay the last 3 years worth and maybe take a small storm from this year and just overlay it? Is that kind of how they're finding those honey holes?
Yeah, that's a big part of it. It's been, it's crazy what some guys can do in areas where there hasn't been a lot of hail. And some of it is a new storm, in a small town that, not a lot of people want to work. I find it, yes, some of the 1-star maps that we do, you'll pull the data and maybe it had like 2.5 inch hail, but it only hit 10 or 15 houses, right? By going and start looking at these 10 or 15 houses that were hit, we make a 1-star map. It just didn't hit a lot of people, but it was some pretty big hail. And all of a sudden you see this $1 million property, set in the middle of this 1-star map that got hit with tennis ball size hail. Somebody's got to do that, and that's a game changer for a sales guy. You get that one roof, you're talking, could be $100,000-$200,000 roof that you're looking, or more, if it's tile. I'm not good at valuing roofs. I'm good at valuing hail, but I know they're making a lot of money. And sometimes some of these PAs, the C3 group is one that we see a lot. Premier Claims, the Insurance Adjuster Group. There's a whole bunch of these guys out there. C3 Group is our big sponsor on our truck. They're doing a bunch of research with our truck, but there's a bunch of great guys out there. Some of these PAs you see, they're making a killing off of these 1-star maps that I do. Going around finding this farm with 25 buildings in it and getting a roof replacement out of it. And it's all again in what you look for. What are you looking for in a honey hole? Is it it's typically a place that no one works that has damage. That's what you're looking for. And there's a ton of places out there like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a client that we work really closely with, Joe Ledbetter, and I don't remember the exact cause of the loss, whether it was wind, hail, whatever. Doesn't matter. But he found a small gated community, 20-ish houses. He went in, and I want to say like 85-90% of those houses had damage to them, and the ones that didn't, he used that as leverage for selling the other guys. And he was able to not only sell the other houses, but when asked, like, well, hey, why doesn't Mrs. Smith down the road, why doesn't she have damage? Well, she had a premium shingle on her roof, and he was able to upgrade not only sell all of the other roofs, but upgrade them on their shingle. So I think you're dead on when you say, hey, we've got to kind of, what are you looking for? And for me personally, obviously you're going to be able to go to where everybody's at and, get a few sales out of it. But, the thing that Hail Trace does so well is kind of helps you find those honey holes if you put the time in. I know I was following you on one of the socials this weekend, and you were kind of messing around with the app. How does that work in terms of, you were showing something about how you can put in values on houses and stuff, and it'll kind of pull those up? Does that give, all the information you would need to be able to go in and basically canvas an area with your app then? Yeah,
it does. It's pretty cool. So like what I did with that particular storm is I actually just pulled a list of there was an area that was hit with, I think on that one it was 1.5 inches, so it was ping pong ball. So when I see 1.5 inches hail, I'm thinking maybe not. It could or could not do damage, but I did see that certain areas of that storm had been hit 3 times this year, so that might be a nice increase. If you've been hit with hail 3 times, you've got a 20-minute hail time. You got a better chance than if you just got hit once. But what I did was with that particular storm was I took a list of all the people that had been impacted with it, and I just wanted to focus on some of the higher value homes. And so I just sorted my list to show me all the people that had been hit with 1.5 inches hail and that had a home value of $500,000 or more. And then I was able to basically pin those on the map so I could see where they were all at, and basically created a blueprint for the area that I wanted to focus on to go and see, was this a storm worth working or not? So I'm able to now quickly go in, see all these high value homes where I can make a little bit more money on and go from there. And then typically what you'll find is, some of those guys, they have maybe a $400,000 or $300,000 home next door to them. And so when you get the $500,000 or the $700,000 home, it's a little easier to go get the neighbor as well. And so it's really just a blueprint for making money is what it really was. And as what was really cool is as you would work those, so I made them a pin with a dollar sign is what I did. So I had these dollar signs all over the map where these, valuable homes were. But as I went in and worked it, so if I went to that house and, they told me to get lost, I could update that pin to show, oh, they told me to get lost, I shouldn't come back. Or, they want me to follow up. And so I could create that follow up and just kind of continue to work those as I move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that kind of segues us nicely into what we're kind of talking about with CompanyCam and Hail Trace. I know you've got some things in the works, within the app, and kind of once those things get done, it'll almost transition nicely into getting our integration complete. From what I kind of understand, and I don't want to steal the thunder, so I'm going to let you go with it, but basically you use that blueprint, you knock on the, Mrs. Smith's house. Miss Smith, would I be able to get, had some hail? Would you be open for a free inspection? Yeah, absolutely. And then basically from that, it's going to allow you to do your inspection and add photos from CompanyCam. Is that kind of what it'll look like then from the Hail Trace end of things?
Yeah, that's basically what. So our goal is we have no desire to be a CRM. There's seems to be that you can find a CRM just about anywhere, and everybody wants to make one. I'll let them do that all day long. Job Nimbus is a great one. I know a lot of people use AccuLynx. We have an integration with Job Nimbus, but some of the so our desire is to be a sales tool, right? So the hailstorm happens, you need to go out and sell in that hailstorm. So our desire is for you to be able to go in, make your target audience, and go in and canvas to that target audience. And part of canvassing is obviously finding damage, and part of finding damage is now finding that is creating like an inspection or a report that goes along with that. So and you might need to give a report to the insurance adjuster. And so we want to be able to take all of that data, the hail data, your findings, your photos, all that type of stuff, and basically integrate that, plug it into a nice report that you can then use with your insurance adjuster or future inspections. Because one of the, part of it is, you have a roof that's totaled, but the other part is you have a roof that's halfway totaled, but not completely totaled. We got to keep track of that stuff too, because if if we're looking for, let's say 8 hits a square, and we've got 5, we're 3 hits a square short, so we decide not to file the claim on that roof. Well, we're 3 hits a square short. It's not going to take as much or as big of hail to get me over that hump of getting that 3 hits a square. So we got to keep track of that stuff and photos and stuff like that. And those photos can come in handy. I don't know if CompanyCam, I'm sure there's got to be some people using it this way, but if one of the reports that we get that we have to do a lot for our clients is on data loss. And so the adjuster is telling the contractor or the homeowner that this roof it has damage, but it's totaled from this storm that was 3 years ago. Well, what if you were the one that did the inspection 3 years ago and found that it wasn't totaled, and you had your photos, with a CompanyCam and a health trace report merged together? Well, now all of a sudden you can tell the adjuster, you know what, they did actually have a hailstorm 3 years ago. Here's the inspection that I did, and there wasn't enough damage to do it. So in between that time, it is held again, and health trace shows that it held on this date, and here's our photos to prove that it was totaled on this date. Now all of a sudden we've built a timeline of how that damage occurred, and so we can help them in that way as well. And also it alerts you now that all of a sudden, I have a property that wasn't totaled, it just got hit with hail again. We need to be out to do an inspection immediately, to see if that extra hail is what pushed them over the top. And we see it all the time. Like a lot of times it's not one single hail event that totals a roof. Sometimes it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hail events that actually total a roof.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're exactly right in terms of creating that timeline. Everything that they do in CompanyCam will be timestamp dated, and it's going to stay in that same spot. So that way, 3 years later when you go out, boom, there's the previous pictures. Here's the new pictures. You can even turn that in, and where you guys are kind of creating those reports within Hail Trace. I think that's going to be kind of game changer for the contractor. It's going to, make it easier to get jobs that you've already been out to and maybe didn't get, like you said, because wasn't enough damage previously, which will be really nice. And now you guys got the forecast coming here at noon, and I definitely want to plug that and get people to slide over and check that out. I do just a couple more questions for you. I know this year's kind of been a slow year across the country, but I know Colorado just gotten pelted here lately. One thing that I don't know this answer, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but I would assume C3 is giving you some insight to it, is I saw some pictures about a job getting done, and then you guys go and throw baseball or softball size hail on the job while it was in progress. What happens in something like that?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. We asked the question, and I think a lot of it depends on what the insurance company how they want to handle that. Because it was true. I mean, there was, we saw a photo where it was somebody taking the photo, and there was baseball size hail frozen like in the air. As they took the photo, you could see this huge hail falling. And then in the background, you could see a tarped roof, and then you could see a roof that was halfway shingled with all the shingle bundles across the ridge. Fun. And so, so what happens in that case? I don't know if I actually found the actual solution. To me, it sounds like it's probably, unfortunately for that homeowner, it's going to be two different claims. And I think so far, from what I understand, Colorado has pretty low deductibles still. I don't think that'll be the case for much longer, but
Yeah.
but that's it's unfortunate, when it happens that way. I think if it was a if you hadn't started the roof, you're probably still okay unless there's new damage. I know a couple of years ago, Wiley, Texas had just, even worse than some of the stuff you've seen in Colorado Springs, just crazy hail. But a lot of those people actually got hit 3 weeks before that with like 2-inch hail that totaled their roofs. So a lot of them and kind of got the process started, but they hadn't replaced their roof yet. Well, this second storm comes through with softball size hail, wind driven at 100 miles an hour. Busted windows out, took their fences down. It just destroyed, like went through their roofs, through the sheetrock inside into their living rooms, then water's pouring in. Well, because of all the new damage, they had to file a second claim, even though they hadn't done one on the roof yet. So, and in Texas, a lot of times that was a 2% deductible. So, you're talking thousands of dollars, on that second deductible now for the second claim. So, unfortunately, sometimes it happens. I love a good hailstorm, but I'd prefer it just to hit different people every time. But it's Mother Nature, and we can't really control how it works or what it's going to do. So it's interesting to watch for sure.
You bet. And you transitioned into my last question, and I've heard you speak enough, like I said, at different events and things, that I know you touch on this, and I think you have pretty good insight on it. Like you said, Mother Nature, you can't control where it's going to come, when it's going to come. And you see a lot of these companies that do a lot of insurance work, their hail trace customers, maybe their CompanyCam as well, and they didn't get hail this year. What suggestions do you have for those guys out there that say, well, Derik and the weather gods didn't give me any hail, I can't work this year? Like, what do you see in people that are successful out there doing to, supplement their non-hail seasons?
Well, that's I think what it boils down to is in most of these markets there's actually still damage. It may not be from a new storm, but it may be from an older storm. And so you need a data loss, and it's pretty difficult to prove which hailstone caused which damage. So in most cases, a data loss is usually a pretty good thing to run off of. If you're unfamiliar with what your dates of loss are, and maybe you aren't sure how to do that, even if you're a hail trade. We have a lot of customers that that just don't understand everything that you can do. We're here in our office all the time. We want to do training. We do it for free. We don't charge for training. So if there's anything that we can help, if we can help you find dates of loss or help you find some of those honey holes, a lot of times though, it's just a matter of putting boots on the ground and getting out there and looking for damage. It may not be like a big storm where you go in and every roof in the neighborhood is totaled. It might be where, of 100 houses, you might find damage on 3 of them. But those 3 roofs are money that you can put in your pocket, and then you do it at the next neighborhood and you get 4. You go to the next neighborhood and you get 3 again. All of a sudden we've done 12 roofs over the course of a month by just working 3 different neighborhoods, but being real strategic and really picking out the individual houses that have damage and trying to sell to those houses.
Absolutely. Well, Derik, we're kind of hitting up on the end of the hour. Like I said, I know you've got the forecast. Is John on the forecast then today?
He is. Here, let me show you. There's John right there.
John, what's up?
Going to be doing, here's the green screen.
The countdown
Going right there. And then we got Heather in here. Heather's one of our other meteorologists. This is where the weather nerds hang out.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah,
well, I know that you told me that you were going to promise Chicago some hail here today, and just blame John if that doesn't come. But definitely appreciate you jumping on with us today. Great information. Probably see you at a couple shows here down near future. And guys, if you're not using Hail Trace, check it out.
Sounds great. Thanks for the time. Thanks everybody for watching, and I hopefully everybody got a little valuable information.
Absolutely. Thanks, Derik. And Florida Atlantic this weekend. Let's. What are they? The Owls? We need to cheer for the Owls, I think.
I don't think so.
Have a good one, man.
All right, take care, man.